Hey there, welcome to Spectrum Pulse, where we talk about music, movies, art, and culture, and today it's a surprisingly big one. We're going to be talking about the newest project from Lorde Virgin. Going into this album, one of the hardest questions I had for myself was what I even wanted out of Lorde in 2025. Because on the one hand, she can have this real magnetic vocal intensity. She's willing to take some risks adjacent to pop music, write about potentially challenging or transgressive ideas with interesting framing. But if I'm going to highlight my biggest issue with really her entire career, it's the haphazard execution. Part of this is that while melodrama remains awesome, I still don't love pure heroin the same way so many people do, but I'm also a little bit warmer on Solar Power. I don't think it's a total dud, and yet the run-up for Virgin has felt very weird for me. I saw so many comparisons of What Was That to Green Light, given some similar subject matter that I didn't remotely buy. You need more explosive power and muscle to make that work. Probably a factor of swapping out Jack Antonoff on production for Jim Eastack and Dan Nigro, and some of the social media antics and interviews might be more compelling if they didn't feel set up to get the stupidest headlines possible. I was worried about this album, and now having heard Virgin multiple times, yeah, I'm still unconvinced and distinctly frustrated because once again we got a host of charged, potentially poignant ideas, adopting some of the framing from melodrama to keep it tighter around herself, where I can imagine if you empathize with what Lorde is saying, I get how this could work viscerally, but again, said ideas feel underexplored, and the execution and the music might just be her weakest to date. I did not connect with this production at all. But to start positive, I want to begin with those ideas, because Lorde has gotten old enough to recognize those who might take advantage of her passionate or trusting nature, especially through the commodification of music and art, how they convey her feelings. And the truth is that Lorde isn't quite sure what the answers are herself. Right from Hammer and Shapeshifter, you get the impression that Lorde is trying to embrace the uncertain, the transitional, the ambiguity, a certain amorphous and quasi-anonymous cool that can work in the New York City nightclubs where the pulsing rattle of the synths and beats, they seem built to play, where sex is part validation and part casual power game. But that's honestly not a state that comes naturally for her. We could have picked that up on previous albums. So amidst those moments, we get sexually charged heartbreak and yearning for her mother's attention and love on Favorite Daughter, especially in the pregnancy scare on Clearblue, the body dysmorphia on Broken Glass, and the lingering fear that there's no final state of cool feminine maturity where she can shrug this off. She's still growing. She probably always will be. It's not surprising how then Lorde will flirt with the gender binary here. If she yearns to escape the constant feeling of unwelcome perception for the detachment and privilege embodied by the masculine archetype, though by the penultimate song, If She Could See Me Now, she coalesces around that feminine rage that feels damn near divine as she perceives the she as God. Unsurprisingly, it's my favorite song here. It has me circle back to the idea of virginity, where it's less referring to any sort of sexual purity, more a certain yearning passion and potential, a freewheeling innocence and spirit that mainstream society wants to control or inevitably snuff out. As someone considered the chosen one by the industry for years at a very young age, and where Lorde has given her heart so freely to watch it get stomped on, it can feel like a perilous game to balance and preserve one's wellspring of passion and potential and yearning, or, in other words, one's heart. Now, these are potent thoughts and ideas, driven by the sharp and abrupt language where you can tell Lorde is stabbing out into uncertain places, but also never fully going for broke in the same way. It's vulnerable in its intention, but cagey in the way it seems like the blocky percussion and very tight vocal mix prevents the album from being as expansive as it could be, narrowing the focus so directly on Lorde that everyone else almost falls out of view, increasing her isolation. Well, almost. Because this is the risk of Lorde playing so much with negative spaces her entire career. As much as I think her landing the dramatic payoff is more viscerally satisfying, she is correct that we as humans don't easily coalesce, especially in passionate states where the heady, technicolor contradictions nakedly pay out. But when you leave so much empty potential hanging in the air, it will invite comparison points that are less assertions of universality and more, I've heard this done before, and done better. I've seen the road she's paved. The first comparison that leapt to my mind was Taylor Swift, mostly in song construction, lyrical meter, and the breathy punch-in ad-libs, but Swift is also bent around feminine roles, and at her best captures a similar transgressive rage. Although Lorde's flame feels intentionally less controlled even here, this is no cheap Gracie Abrams imitation. But then there's the stark sonic and thematic parallels to Tove Lo, or especially Charlie XCX, not only in the dicey challenge of embracing a certain shape-shifting cool girl while also embodying every naked contradiction in that, but also some of the explicit arc of Brat in confronting bodily urges around sex and reproduction. They might have worked it out on the remix, but Lorde is too angular and charged to embrace the chic cool that Charlie did. And I can connect way more directly to that from Lorde, or at least I wish I could if the production remotely worked for me and didn't leave me thinking that half of the mix was left abandoned on the cutting room floor. And at this point, I'm almost ready to throw up my hands in defeat, because outside of the thicker Jack Antonoff saturation of melodrama, Lorde's stabs at brittle minimalism have always felt short on melody, and this might be her most frustrating to date, especially given how diminished the actual tunes are in favor of percussion that sounds bricked out and oppressively loud. This much forced, buzzy texture, compressions, and sibilance can contribute to a kind of intensity. I get that it's supposed to be uncomfortably close, it's almost like it's the voice in your own head, but a more coherent sense of dynamics would probably make it hit a little harder, or if there was a focus on subtlety within this mix, you would hope it would be more consistent across all of the production, with probably the best example here being the near a cappella auto-tuned Clearblue. I really like that song. I also appreciated the deeper strings on Shapeshifter. Sure wish they had more presence in the mix compared to the chalky metallic knock of the percussion that's way louder, similar to the multi-tracking around some truly hideous blown-out percussion and oily synth on Grown Woman, or the Brat leftover beat and melody on Broken Glass, or how the closer David tries to recenter more intimate storytelling and the choral multi-tracking for the chorus of women before the shuddering bass synth becomes suffocating and then bricks the mix without even paying off the crescendo. Not one of the best closers here. And what's exasperating is that when Lorde embraces more tune or the vocal mix isn't so tight, there's solid pop songs here. What Was That is a good single. The buzzing, wiry pulse of Favorite Daughter with the curdled guitar rumble fleshing out the back of the mix, and the jagged snarl around the knock of If She Could See Me Now, where the breathier vocals are just better supported a little further back so the electric guitar can build its way in. Again, I think it's the best song on the album. But when you pull it all together, if you can't tell, I really want to like this a lot more than I do. I really like Lorde's visceral style of writing and intensity, and I think the challenge of how she presents vulnerability with ugly edges and contradictions, no perfect victim, it avoids easy quantification. I like that a lot, but I also don't think she's served well by production that pushes that intensity to an awkwardly mixed place, that's short on melody, that tries to marry the spare edges of her debut with modern textures and then doesn't really stick the landing in the mixing and mastering. And as much as it serves as its own justification for leaving its emotional journey unkempt and unfinished in a sequence of overexposed snapshots, 4 albums with this similar thematic frustration for me has me just wishing that she'd follow through her ideas more holistically. And as much as some will say, oh, it's just not for you, you don't get it. No, I don't buy it. I've heard these themes expressed before by women, for women, and they have stuck the landing. And you get snippets like If She Could See Me Now, where Lorde nails it too. Forget Solidarity, as I believe her line, I swim in waters that would drown so many other bitches. She has that core in her artistry. I just wish it was better executed here. That doesn't mean the album is bad so much as it works better in pieces than as a whole. That feels thematically appropriate. And it is worth a recommendation. But circling back to that title, if you're left thinking that the first time wasn't the greatest, or you built it up in your head and you're a little deflated by the result, someone might not have performed, don't say I didn't warn you. That's all. So yeah, thanks a lot for watching. If you want to see more, please be sure to like, share, drop comments, subscribe. I just know this review is going to be contentious, and that's frustrating because, again, I really wanted to love this album, and it just didn't fully get there for me. But hey, comments down there, have fun. If I misinterpreted something or something, if something had a deeper resonance for you, please describe it. I actually do want to engage more with this piece because, again, I want to like this more than I do. Beyond that, though, anything else I might be able to do to improve my presentation, I'm all ears. And if y'all want to get involved in helping support the channel, get albums on my schedule when it reopens this Saturday, or hell, just yell at me on my Discord, link to my Patreon and YouTube memberships is right over there. Don't feel obligated, tough times out there, I understand, but the option is available. Also, one more thing, we're coming up on my anniversary review, targeted for July 10th. There is a post on my main channel page, which actually goes into the details surrounding what is required for me to go back and cover that album from 2024 that I normally do on my anniversary. Please go check it out if you want to get in on that action, because that's always entertaining. I'm curious where it all falls out. But until then, I'm Mark, you're watching Spectrum Pulse, and I'll see you next time.